Baseball fans, you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
The Atlanta Braves starting pitching staff so far this year has been really good, even with the injury to Spencer Strider. Chris Sale has been as advertised and everything we could have hoped he'd be. Reynaldo Lopez has been a real diamond in the rough. Charlie Morton's had his ups and downs, but he's been Charlie Morton that we expect. And as we move forward, you hope that that trend continues beyond this year. Of course, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the trade deadline. I still believe that the Braves are going to go get a starting pitcher of some caliber because not only for this year, they need one, but also for next season. And the reason is, I've said this many times before, you could possibly be losing not only Charlie Morton to a potential retirement, but also Max Fried to potential free agency. And that time is coming. So that leads into this question. And it's a question that a lot of you guys have asked in one way or another. How important is it to re-sign Max Fried? Right? I can show you Max Fried's stats. I can tell you that going into today, he had a 3.11 ERA that probably got better by the end of today. He has a 6-3, probably now 7-3 win-loss record. I can tell you all that. I can tell you the intangibles. I can tell you what his spin rate is. I can tell you all of that. None of that matters. Put the stats aside. Obviously, they matter when you're talking about negotiating for arbitration, but really when it comes to free agency, what matters is who is he on the mound. We've seen it over the past few years. We know what Max Fried has to offer, and he's been an absolute staple in Atlanta. He became probably an Atlanta legend back in 2021 after Game 6, right? We can all talk about that, but really who he is day in, day out, pending injury, he's a guy that's going to give you a chance to win every time, just about, right? And we know who he is. We know what he gives us. Entering this offseason, again with both Fried and Morton possibly being gone, how important is it that we bring him back? And it's been a topic that we've talked about before, but this is a question that, again, I've been asked multiple times. I addressed this last Sunday minimally because I wanted to focus on it this week. Max Fried, without a doubt, is the front man of the rotation. You can argue Spencer Strider has more stuff. You can argue that, he may be the better talent right now, but Max Fried has been the guy that we count on in heated moments, and when we need him most, that is the guy that the Braves count on. He is not the most veteran guy in the rotation. Chris Sale and Charlie Morton both have him beat there, but he is certainly the guy that the Braves will hang their hat on. Now, again, I ask, how important is it that we bring him back in 2025? Well, that's really not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to the Atlanta Braves front office. I said last Sunday that I do not think that Max Fried will be back in Atlanta come 2025. And I have my reasons. Why is it that I don't think he'll return? Well, probably for a lot of the same reasons that you either think that or you question that. And there's plenty of reasons. I have three. Number one, he has yet to sign an extension. And when you look at all of who the Braves have that came internally and some externally that have signed an extension, he is the one guy who has not done that. That is currently on the roster that you would expect to have done that if he was going to. And, think about it. Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, who came from outside, Sean Murphy, who came from outside. We can look at that. Austin Riley. All these guys have signed, even Spencer Strider, if you want to tune into a pitcher. All these guys have signed extensions of some kind, whether it be a long extension, whether it be a team-friendly extension, and all of these are. That's the difference here. Max Fried has held out, and that's the reason that I tend to believe it's not going to happen. That's the biggest. But also, my second reason is I've looked at the free agencies in the past that didn't sign an extension, i.e. Freddie Freeman or Dansby Swanson or anyone like that. Very few got to this point and all of a sudden came back or signed an extension or whatever the case may be. And look, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying if we've waited this long, if you're Max Fried, why would you sign a team-friendly extension if the suitors are this close to being able to call you and offer you a deal?
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile.
My third reason is exactly that. He may not be in the Braves' price range come 2025. Not to say that they can't pay it, but I'm saying they may not pay it. Here's what I'm saying. The top 10 starting payroll, right, bottoms out at $130 million. All right, that was to Max Scherzer. So I want to take a look at the top 10 starting pitcher payrolls because I'm going to prove a point here. You start out with Shohei Ohtani, whether you view him as a starting pitcher or not. He is technically a starting pitcher. You have Shohei Ohtani. You have Yamamoto in second at $325 million. You have Garrett Cole, $324 million. Strasburg, $245 million. Jacob deGrom, $185. Aaron Nola, $172. Patrick Corbin, $140. Tyler Glasnow, $136. Jose Barrios, $131. Max Scherzer, $130. What did you notice about some of the names in that list? You baseball fans out there, think about it. What did you notice? Some of you probably already know where I'm going with this. I hope you do. 7 out of those 10 that I just listed have missed substantial time or are currently missing substantial time because they are out with injuries, okay? And whether that be because the ball has changed, whether that be because you can't use sticky stuff, whether that be just because some team signed a stupid deal, whatever the case may be, 7 out of the 10 are missing substantial time. One of them is retired in Steven Strasburg. So what I'm telling you is this. When it comes to starting pitching, paying high is not always the way to go. And it's not a good model, right? If you look at any kind of sustainable model, in baseball, starting pitching right now, paying high, you're not necessarily going to get it you're not going to get what you pay for necessarily. Some are currently working out. Aaron Nola seems to be doing very well. Yamamoto seems to be doing well. Jose Barrios has had his ups and downs. Those are the only 3 that are currently healthy right now. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's deep dive this real quick. Shohei Ohtani, not pitching in 2024. He is playing, but he's not pitching. Garrett Cole is out currently. Steven Strasburg, we've already mentioned that. He is retired, and he's currently on that $245 million contract. Jacob deGrom, currently injured. Patrick Corbin, he's playing, but not to the level that he's getting paid. Tyler Glasnow missed all of 2022. Jose Barrios, again, his ups and downs. Max Scherzer is currently out as well.
Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HTs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
To get it back to Max Fried. Do the Braves view that as a priority? Probably. It's certainly going to be a topic of conversation, as it should be, come the offseason, if there hasn't been an extension signed. But when I look at it, and when I analyze it, I don't know that they're going to view that like we do, right? We view it as, hey man, this is the guy. This is our guy. This is the guy who's been with this team, who's been a part of this rebuild. He was one of our guys that we got while he was still in the minors. He's been with us his entire major league career. We got to get him, right? And that's the lens we're looking at it with, right? And that is the argument for bringing back Fried, right? This is the case, right? Do you want him to be a lifetime Brave? I'm sure many of us do. He's a postseason legend for the Braves already, right? And out of all of the arms we've raised over the years, I throw it back to Fulton Navich, Sean Newcomb, Tookie Toussaint, Michael Soroka, etc. Name your pick. He is the one guy out of all of them that has hung around and is still here pitching at a high level. The only one. But it only happens. Max Fried only returns if it is a team-friendly deal. That is the reason I don't think it's going to happen. Because if that was going to happen, I think it already would have happened. There's nothing saying that it can't happen. I'm just telling you, logic-wise, I would be very surprised if Max Fried was to sign a team-friendly deal. Now, the Braves could all of a sudden decide, hey, look, we're gonna pay Max's money here. And look, if there's one guy that I think deserves it, if there's one guy that I think may be worth it, especially considering that you could potentially be losing both Charlie Morton and Max Fried, and you don't start next year with Spencer Strider, it very well may be worth it. But I really believe that under Alex Anthopoulos, under this current administration, it's got to be a team-friendly deal. I mean, you look at Spencer Strider. He's on a team-friendly deal. Any other starting pitcher right now is on a virtual team-friendly deal, right? Even Chris Sale is on a team-friendly deal, and he's an outsider. So my point is, you just need to go ahead and understand it may not happen. Max Fried may not return as an Atlanta Brave in 2025. I've already come to the conclusion that I don't think he will. And the reason I say I don't think he will, you have 10 teams right here that are willing to pay pitchers that are not up to his caliber, or not up to Max Fried's caliber. I'm looking at you, Patrick Corbin. They're not there. They don't have his resume, and they're making $140 million, $245 million. Some of them aren't even playing anymore. You have teams that are willing to spend that kind of money. If you're Max Fried and you have the choice between playing in Atlanta for, we'll call it $20 million a year, or going to San Diego and making $40 million a year, what are you doing, right? I mean, just being honest, that's where we find ourselves. And again, I really think it's mostly because he has not signed an extension yet. And there's nothing wrong with what he's done. He's handled himself very well. He's obviously given it 125% every day. And all he is required to do is to play at his top level while in a Braves uniform. What happens after that is completely up to Max Fried. And I think Chipper Jones said it perfectly a couple of years ago. If Max Fried wants to be a Brave, he will be a Brave.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.